I started learning the mind a lot, how to get myself jacked extremely fast. Like in a horrible environment when everybody's miserable, I learned how to really find strength in the misery. When everybody's suffering, everybody's all poopy pants and their mentality's down and everything, just like, my God, this is where I shine. And I started using all that misery for tons and tons of drive and motivation to then lead people further. Because you can get a lot of power through misery.
It's a grind that you have to start and finish on your own.
You have to take great pleasure in the fact that no one wants to be where you're at right now. Great pleasure in that. And what makes, it has to bring a passion out of you. It has to bring something very, very weird out of you, man.
One of the things that people always look for in life, they look for a point where they can rest. They love that expression, the golden years. They love that expression. They love the idea of a struggle as long as it ends, and then when it ends, they're going to have a nice, comfortable spot.
It must end.
Yeah,
the suffering must end.
The idea of reaching this golden year it's a very flawed idea. You're going to work hard, but then you're going to reach the finish line. But there's no finish line.
No.
It doesn't exist.
People go, man, why don't you ever smile? There's no f***ing end, my friend. Your life and the journey you put yourself through, there's nothing more than that. And that's all I want people to do is realize that you have to struggle. You have to struggle. The bigger the struggle, the bigger the peace. The bigger the suffering, the more peace. What separates me from a lot of people is they go into a daunting task. You have to be open-minded to the possibilities that I can do this. Once you shut your mind down to the possibility that it can be achieved, there's no way it can happen. So that's why my eyes and my body light up about things, because I know that if you're in a fight, you have to attack. You have to keep attacking. The enemy has to know he is not going to give up. You must break the soul of whatever the fuck is in front of you.
If you do this simple exercise of drawing a line down a piece of paper and you write down what life looked like in great detail, when did you wake up? When did you go to bed? How often were you with friends, family? What were you doing for work, exercise? What were you eating? If you then compare that to what life looks like now, you now know what to do. Your whole life is the little things. It's when you wake up. It's the first thing you look at. It's what you do with your body. It's how you greet your spouse. It's how you talk to yourself. It's the mood that you walk into work with intentionally. That's your whole life. And if you were to just take the time and intentionally write down a few simple things, you would be very surprised how getting some of the little things right actually starts to turn your life in a completely different direction. When you feel behind, that's your insecurity, putting a lid on what you believe is possible for you. So that's number one. Recognize that that's insecurity blocking you. And you can use that as a sign that, all I have to do is start walking toward things. The second thing I want to share with everybody is that it is normal to feel envious or even be somewhat of a jerk when somebody that you care about changes. Just use my 5-second rule. Literally, in those moments where you feel self-doubt kick in, you got to be careful because you have a habit of hesitating. You have a habit of doing what psychologists say. You have a bias towards thinking. And so a second takeaway is use my 5-second rule. And when you catch yourself hesitating, when you catch the self-doubt coming in, when you catch the feelings and the excuses rise up, count backwards, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And by the time you get to 1, the prefrontal cortex will have focused on the counting and you've got literally a split second to move. And the trick about this is when you start counting, you've made a decision to try. Do you know how much energy it takes to walk into a job you can't stand, and yet you do it every day? Imagine if instead of sitting at your desk resisting, complaining, gossiping, and coming up with excuses, imagine if you just redirected some of that energy toward looking for something else. That like the leaves get pushed off a tree, you make a decision that today I am actually going to let go of the gossiping and complaining about this because that is zapping my energy. And I'm going to direct my energy at something positive because once I get rid of that, I got room for something positive to grow. When you engage in your own campaign of misery, you are creating literally a cancer inside of you that eats at you. And we don't realize that by engaging in this campaign of misery, because it's active, that flame is burning inside you and you are actively convincing yourself not to do anything. And the only cure for this is to stop listening to that campaign and simply start taking small steps, just one every day toward the thing that you want. My definition of confidence that I want everyone to walk away with is confidence is the willingness to try. In research, there is something called the confidence competency loop. And what that means is that as you try something for the first time, at the heart of confidence is action. It's the willingness to try. And all you need is to know that if you try, you're not going to die. You're just going to learn something. And when you learn something, it removes a little bit of the insecurity so that it makes it slightly easier to try again. One of the greatest gifts of being an adult is separating from your parents and deciding how you want to talk to yourself, how you want to change the way that you think, how you speak, how you support. So that's number one. Number two, it is so common and natural to feel this kind of complex mix of guilt and of pressure to want to please your parents. Why? Because you needed them to survive as a kid. It's not like you could leave. And what we learn as kids is that there is a give and a take, and that oftentimes that love that you need and that support that you need is very transactional. There is this concept when you say goodbye to somebody or when you're about to leave somebody who's going to do something anxious, is you bridge that moment to the next moment you're going to see them. So I'm sure you do this when you say goodbye to your parents in the UK. You hug and say, I can't, for me, I just said, I can't wait to see you on Thanksgiving break. I can't wait to hear how this thing goes tomorrow, so that you are staying connected and bridging and closing that kind of loop of something's ending, because things are not truly really ending.
Yeah.
They're always beginnings to something else. That meaning comes from working on something. I'm going to say it again. Meaning comes from working on something with intention that has importance to you. I believe that dreams are not meant to be achieved. I believe that your dreams are a directional signal, that the dream is out there in a different chapter of your life, calling you from this moment toward that direction. The dreams are deeply personal. They are connected to that flame inside you. You are hardwired with them when you were born. It is absolutely part of why you're curious about things, why you're interested in things naturally. I'm going to get on the court and try until I make it. Because the pain of sitting in the stands and never getting down there is way greater than tripping on the court. You are causing yourself so much pain by laughing off and making jokes about how it's never going to happen. You are causing yourself so much pain by thinking about it. Get out of the freaking stands and get back on the court in your life.
How are you encouraging young people to find the right mentors?
I think it's important to research them. And it's like putting, fuel in the fire every day. Constant inspiration. When you read about them, what they were able to accomplish, how they went about accomplishing it. You're just constantly feeding that flame and learning. And the best way to do that is to learn from the people who have done it. Obsessiveness just comes from something that you love. Like you really love it. You'll go through fire for it. You'll go through the ups and downs with it, and you'll just keep at it because you love it so much, And the story for me started a long time ago. I had a great English teacher at Lower Merion High School named Jane Mastriano, and she explained to me the art of storytelling my sophomore year. And that's where I started falling in love with it and understanding story structure, how to develop compelling characters, and how stories are the driving force, whether they're inspirational or informational, that really change society.